We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Step right up, got tickets on sale. In today's episode, trains coming off the rails. Watch it all burn from the screen on your phone. But don't you worry about it, you're safe at home. Every talking head will tell you everything's fine. It's the blind leading the blind. Yeah, it's a circus out here, we're wobbling on a wire. There's a lady with a beard, clowns juggling fire. Elephants and donkeys got us jumping through hoops. Y'all wish that I was lying, but you know that is the truth. Get your popcorn ready and pour you something strong. If the world's still spinning, the shit show goes on. The world's strongest man just dropped the ball, and the tent's caving in from the weight of it all. Yeah, the lions at the cage, puppets in a rage, and the ringleaders on parade. It's a circus out here, we're wobbling on a wire. There's a lady with a beard, clowns juggling fire. Elephants and donkeys got us jumping through hoops. Y'all wish that I was lying, but you know that is the truth. Get your popcorn ready and pour you something strong. If the world's still spinning, the shit show goes on.
Come on! Witness the greatest show on earth! Restore the flame! Do not panic! Everything's fine! Everything's fine!
It's a circus out here, we're wobbling on a wire. There's a lady with a beard, clowns juggling fire. Elephants and donkeys got us jumping through hoops. Y'all wish that I was lying, but you know that is the truth. Get your popcorn ready and pour you something strong. If the world's still spinning, the shit show goes on.
Everything's fine! Everything's fine!
Rock Authority. Big Patriot Radio.
I wouldn't tell anybody about this.
You're listening to Beaufort's House of Cards on the Big Patriot Radio Network. And welcome, everybody. Welcome in here. It is Beaufort County's House of Cards. I'm Mike Covert. Glad to have you with us. Wow, what a big show we've got tonight here on the House of Cards.
Introducing to you.
You're on House of Cards. Live. live on Facebook and YouTube.
It's going down.
Locked and loaded with the truth.
That's right. It is another Thursday. Wow, what a show we have coming up for you tonight. Incredible, huge. And it's amazing that this even got pulled together. I may sound a little bit odd, a little bit off. And that's because I am infected with the Rona at the moment. So I'm on the other side of I'm on the feel better side in the last 4 days, or whatever days. I don't even know what day it is other than Thursday. I have no idea what the date is. But I'm on the other side of it. So that is a good thing. Unfortunately, I have spread the Rona here in the house. I wonder if the dogs could get COVID, because they don't act, they still, come up to you and lick you on the ankle. And, I don't know, maybe they shouldn't do that because it's possible to get spread. I don't know, maybe you shouldn't watch. Maybe it could get spread through the airwaves now. We have to talk to you about that. Anyway, we want to hear from you tonight. We've got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about. Leave your comments in the comment bar of your particular social media, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, however you're coming on with us. Someone just texted me, oh my God, you've got COVID. Yes, I do. But I tell you what, maybe this is a positive. I don't know this time. I've lost almost 20 pounds. I'm not hungry. Just not hungry. I can eat, I have a taste. I had a taste for crackers. I had a taste for what else did I had a taste for some cheese. But I mean, not much. Tea. Still have my tea, and I lost my taste for Monster. That's strange. But anyway, not enough about me. We want to hear from you tonight. Put your comments in the bar of your particular whatever platform you're watching on. We want to hear from you. Also, consider, you see it going across your screen, consider a monthly Patreon membership. $5 to $10 a month, whatever you want. It could be $1, whatever. It could be $25. That's okay too. We do have a couple of those. That would help keep independent news and journalism going along. We appreciate it. Check it out there. You can do it at Venmo. You can go to Patreon, patreon.com/Beaufort House of Cards. Tonight, we will be breaking when Brandon comes on and has his live address to the nation from the Oval Office, assuming he doesn't slip and fall on the carpet. That wasn't nice. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. He'll be live somewhere around 8 o'clock. As soon as we see it coming up, we'll flip over to that. So you don't have to go anywhere. We'll have it all right here, all live. You can listen to us, and then we'll go into Brandon's speech. I'm not gonna show any of the whoever's delivering, and I got a feeling it would probably be Jim Jordan if I had to guess, the Republican rebuttal, but I'm not going to go for that. We got too much going on. But that'll come up at about 8 o'clock. Okay. New sponsors and advertisers coming online. We're excited for that. If you're interested in whether you want to promote your business or your group on Big Patriot Radio Network, that's www.bigpatriotradio.com, or here on the House of Cards, we have the availability for you to do that. We have some new ones coming on we're excited about. Packed and loaded show for tonight. Let's get right into it. But first, don't forget our other podcasts that we have on BigPatriotRadio.com. Monday nights is the New America Movement. You can listen to David and Jordan Cox at 7 o'clock, and then again at 9 o'clock, an encore show. On Tuesdays, it is the Overton Report at 7 o'clock, and then an encore show at 8 o'clock. That's Corey Allen and the Overton Report. Thursday nights, going on right now, is a repeat of one of the other House of Cards show. So you can listen to that if you can't see us here, which would defeat the purpose. But anyway, it's there for those folks who want to listen. Sundays, we have two shows. Sundays at 7 o'clock is Andrew Southwick and the now television acclaimed Culture Crossroads. So you want to catch that at 7 o'clock on Sundays. And then at 8 o'clock is the Freedom Hour with Frank Friedenauer. That is, again, on Sunday nights. Let's look at the stats last week on Big Patriot Radio. The number one most requested song was, what was it? Trace Adkins and Welcome To here on Big Patriot Radio. And the number one most listening city during the week was a dead heat tie between right here, Bluffton, South Carolina, and Summerville, South Carolina. So a lot of listeners up that way. Obviously, I'm glad we have a lot here right in the backyard here in Bluffton. But it's always good to have folks from out of town. Still, we have, for some, other than traveling through there, I'm not really sure what has taken off, but in Gallup, New Mexico, we still have, every week there are people tuning in during the live in Gallup, New Mexico. And we have, during the after hours or all through the rest of the week, when people come back and either go on Facebook or YouTube and watch the show on a replay, which are several hundreds of people. Not sure where they all came from, but I do watch the live when we're doing this, where they're coming from. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Again, a lot of stuff going on. Let's see here. But before we get started, we've got two guests coming on tonight. This is really fantastic. We take pride in ourselves in the guests that we have. It's fresh, it's relevant. Tonight we have two more candidates for office. Coming up first, you're going to have a chance to meet candidate for the town of Bluffton. He's currently the mayor pro tem, but Larry Toomer will be here. Actually, he's in the green room right now, taking advantage of some iced tea back there in the green room and fresh cookies. I can't smell them, but I know Larry is probably enjoying those. We'll get to him here shortly. After Larry Toomer there with the town of Bluffton, we're going to switch across the side of the Broad River, and we've got a candidate for the town, or the city rather, of Beaufort. Mike Sutton will be on here, and we'll get an interview in with him, his candidacy for mayor there coming up in December. So, but first, let's scroll up through here. We are going to give you see what's going on in your 5-minute news.
This is VOA News. I'm Alexis Strope. President Biden will take a rare step tonight as he looks to deepen U.S. involvement in two bloody foreign conflicts. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
For just the second time, the president will deliver a primetime address from the Oval Office, where he will argue the U.S. is obligated to help both Ukraine and Israel, and will publicly lobby lawmakers to give both more money. The White House is expected to unveil a formal funding request tomorrow, likely to be around $100 billion over the next year. That includes funds for both Taiwan and managing the southern border migrant flow. The hope is combining all those issues into one bill will help get it through Congress, but there are steep challenges, including a House in chaos and opposition on both sides of the political spectrum to aiding both Ukraine and Israel. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Israel's defense minister told ground troops to be ready to enter the Gaza Strip, though he didn't say when the invasion will start. Israeli airstrikes have pounded locations across the Gaza Strip, including parts of the south that Israel had declared as safe zones. With authorities working out logistics for delivery of aid from Egypt, overwhelmed hospitals tried to stretch out ebbing medical supplies and fuel for diesel generators to keep their equipment running. More than 300 people were arrested for illegally demonstrating, and 3 people were charged with assaulting police after protesters descended on the Capitol Hill to call for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Hundreds of demonstrators from Jewish advocacy groups poured into a congressional office building on Wednesday. Demonstrations aren't allowed inside Capitol buildings. You'll find expanded coverage of world news and events at our website, voanews.com, 24 hours a day. This is VOA News. Ukraine is desperately short of judges and is kickstarting a nationwide hiring spree to fill more than 2,000 vacancies and vet around as many sitting judges for potential misconduct. Reforming the judiciary, even while the country is at war, is a requirement if it is to join the European Union one day. Reuters' Lucy Fielder reports.
Two bodies responsible for hiring and disciplining judges were effectively frozen for years and only recently relaunched under EU pressure. On top of hiring new ones, Ukraine must vet 2,000 or so sitting judges for misconduct. Endemic corruption means few Ukrainians trust the courts. Ludmila Volkova is on the commission tasked with both new hires and integrity checks.
Those who keep their posts, whose competence we confirm, will shape the new era of judicial power in Ukraine.
The judiciary overhaul is part of a broader crackdown on corruption.
Lucy Fielder from Reuters. The Palace of Versailles was forced to evacuate visitors on Thursday in France for the first time in less than a week for a security check after a bomb alert. Airports and schools around France also fell victim to bomb alerts and forced evacuations after a similar rash of warnings a day earlier. Even a nuclear research institute received a threat Thursday. No bombs have been found. Police have detained 18 people, mostly minors, the Interior Minister said, in response to the rash of airport threats and evacuations and flight cancellations this week. Officials threaten prison terms and fines for fake bomb threats. Russia has detained a journalist at U.S.-funded Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. Reuters correspondent Edward Barron says Russia claims she failed to register as a foreign agent.
Alsu Kamasheva, an editor with Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty's Tatar Bashkir service, holds both US and Russian passports. RFE said the detention was for failing to register as a foreign agent while visiting Russia for a family emergency. Russia has tightened its control over the media since the start of the Ukraine war. Leading independent news outlets have closed, and many journalists and publications designated as so-called foreign agents. The term, which carries Cold War connotations of espionage, is used in Russia to label organizations, journalists, activists and celebrities deemed to be engaging in political activity with foreign support.
Edward Barron from Reuters. Hundreds of people are being evacuated from their homes and schools have closed in parts of Scotland as much of northern Europe braces for stormy weather, heavy rain and gale force winds from the east. The UK's weather forecaster, the Met Office, issued a rare red alert, the highest level of weather warning for parts of Scotland. It warned that exceptional rainfall Thursday and Friday is expected to cause extensive flooding and danger to life from fast-flowing or deep flood water. I'm Alexis Strope, VOA News.
Locked and loaded.
Let's go.
Big Patriot Radio. Blues, news, country pop, and classic rock.
All right. And that's your 5-minute news. And once again, we're glad to have more guests on here. I tell you, nobody does it like we do it right here at Big Patriot Radio Networks. I'd like to bring on to the set now. Let's switch some cameras here. There he is. Larry Toomer, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, Larry?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
I'm well, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know this guy, Larry Toomer, current mayor pro tem, here in the town of Bluffton, running for the mayoral job. Larry, I appreciate you taking time. I know you're busy. You're busy no matter, forget about politics. You're still very busy. You're one of the busiest people I know. Let's jump right onto this. I appreciate you being here and being on the show with us. Let's jump right in. Big election coming up real soon, within the next couple of 3 weeks, I guess it is. Please tell us, if somebody doesn't know about you, tell us about you, your personal background, and your business life.
Okay, first of all, Mike, thanks for having me. For the ones that don't know me, the ones that might have not been here for the last 60 years, I'll start way back and try to make this quick. In 1913, my grandfather moved to Hilton Head and opened an oyster business here on the island when their population was just a couple of hundred or so. The bridge was built in 1956. I was born in 1958. I've got a memory like an elephant. I can remember things back when I was 3 and 4, 5 years old that I might not remember what my wife told me to do this morning, but I remember 50 years ago. Started the first grade here in Bluffton. in 1964, graduated in 1976 out of the same building, or so to speak, same building that Town Hall is now. That's the extent of my formal education, other than just, the municipal association graduate and things like that. I operate the Bluffton Oyster Company. I own and operate the Bluffton Oyster Company with my wife, Tina. Christmas Eve will be our 35th anniversary. We have 5 kids, 15 grandkids. Wow. And almost all of them live here, with the exception of 3. All of my children live here except one, who works for the Army Corps of Engineers after 18 months in Iraq as a U.S. Marine, and got banged up, 80% disabled, and he's staying with the federal job until he can get full retirement. His wishes are to come back home and hopefully help Dad with some of the daily operations. We own a restaurant, Bluffton Seafood House. Never thought I ever wanted to be in the restaurant business, but as my daughters were getting older, and that was where the money was, for them. So my oldest daughter, talked to us and said, "Yeah, let's open a restaurant." So we did. 14 years later, we still own a restaurant. We own a restaurant because that's my daughter's restaurant. Realistically, it's ours, but I do it strictly for them. My children, all of my children I've got a CPA, I've got a trauma lead nurse, if you ever get flown to Memorial in Savannah. And I get to see my children and my grandkids pretty much every day. I have grandkids in 6 schools within the town of Bluffton. So I'm kind of up on what's happening and all the frustrations that everyone else has.
That is awesome. As well as I thought I knew you, I did not know it was 15 grandkids. Yeah, I did not know that. I've got 9. Together, you and I, we've got a football team and a basketball team, I guess.
Oh yeah, and the boys are catching up.
There you go. That is outstanding.
I'm a little girl heavy, but that's all right.
Same here. Yeah, the girls have got one up on my boys. I also wasn't aware fully of your son in the Marine Corps. I wasn't fully aware of that, but please pass along our appreciation. Obviously, with a name like Big Patriot, we're big patriots, and we certainly appreciate everything he has done and given up, as well as you and your family.
Thank you.
Larry, you've served the citizens of Bluffton, and we thank you and appreciate that for, I guess it's since 2012, over 10 years now. Why mayor?
I think I was actually sworn in 2013, Mike. Okay. I'm in my 10th year right now. I really never had being mayor on my to-do list. The reason I was serving is because, and the reason I'm running now is because I don't think there are many people here that really love Bluffton the way I do. This is home. This is where I began. This is where I raised my children. This is where I plan to die. Working the rivers, meeting the people, just, there's no place like home to me. I didn't have to run for mayor. It was, like I say, it wasn't on my bucket list, but I got to thinking about it, and it's like, okay, I put in my lifetime trying to make this town the best it can be. And Lord knows I cannot do it all. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to run a town. I feel like I'm the most qualified person, and, with my remembrance and I didn't read it in a book. I lived it, and I'm living it today. And I'm not ready to give up. Today we have, I was thinking about it a while ago. I think we have 18 CIP projects that are to be completed by the end of 24, to the tune of $28 million. These are things from the park, state-of-the-art park is what it's going to be at the new Riverside Circle, $15 million worth of park, to sewer lines through the entire town of Bluffton and even beyond. Street crossings, more parks, more development of some restoration of historic buildings, things that are very important to me. Not every one that I brought to the table, but some of them are. And I'm passionate about that. And I'm on council for 2 more years. So my commitment that I'm making right now I don't know if I'll serve 4 years or 8 years. I don't even know if I'm going to be alive, but I do want to do all I can for our town, my family, and all the other people that live here while I still can.
Out of all of the most pressing issues, and it's really, having been in the same seat, publicly elected official, it's hard to categorize because it's almost impossible. But of the pressing issues, at least people that I talk to and that I poll and, you pick out of the air, in Bluffton, it seems like at least the perception, out of control growth, and that's really countywide, not just Bluffton, but countywide, out of control growth at the top of the list. Is there something, and what can you pledge as mayor that you would do to at least help ease the minds or take that pain point away from residents about this growth that in their opinions seems to like it never stops?
Mike, like I said a while ago, I feel the frustrations. What some people know and some people don't realize, a lot of these development, 90% of the town of Bluffton is under development agreements that were signed 20 years ago. There are limited things that the town council can do. One being, I hear people talk about, so why don't y'all do a moratorium? And hey, I was open to checking it out. The only problem with a moratorium is you can't do that legally in the state of South Carolina if someone already has a development agreement, which is most of the land that's left, with the exception of approximately 10%, give or take a couple of percentage points. I have been an advocate for buying land any place we can. And more importantly, my major push is to buy RDUs, which are residential development units that people already have, and they have the right to build 50 houses here, 100 houses there. How much? Because the housing market, everybody knows that's where the money's at. That's why they're all building around here. The people know what Bluffton is and come here to visit and want to stay. They want to call it home. Stopping the development is virtually impossible. And I'm not going to sit on here and lie that, oh yeah, I'm going to stop it all. I can promise you that any place that we can buy RDUs or property with RDUs, especially to preserve for the public and to keep us open space, that's my number 2 priority. It's at the top of my list. My number 1 priority is the environment and protecting what God gave us as far as the clean water, a source of food that my family and many families have been able to not just make a living, but depended on for their daily food, their daily bread. That's what really made me run in the first place 10 years ago. I'm making progress. It's a long, hard, uphill battle. Don't mean to veer off from your initial question, but all of this is tied together. First thing that was blamed for when we started seeing degradation in the water quality was all the new development.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't disagree, but I said, all these new developments that are on sanitary sewer,
Mm-hmm.
how is that making human fecal show up in our May River? And they said, oh, well, I said, what we have,
Yeah,
the
you
biggest.
and I've had many conversations about this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, I'm not, I didn't go to college for 18 years to get a doctorate or even a master's, but I got a lot of common sense. You know,
Yeah.
I've learned from the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
And when I was first elected, one of my biggest pushes, I said, okay, well, we're getting high fecal coliform counts, but we don't know what it is.
Right.
So finally, I got the support of council to spend some money on some testing. And we have been doing that for the last 8 years, where we have scientific data that says that there is human. And the only way for human fecal to get in the rivers is from, just a direct action that a boater might use, or failing septic systems.
Right.
And, you know, there's a big lot of stuff, you know, rising of tides, sea levels rising, inundating some of these areas where on a 10-foot king tide, the septic tanks, the drain fields are underwater.
Right.
It used to not be like that, but it is now. And everyone wants to live on the river. So in these areas with no sewer are the most sought after properties in this whole county, waterfront.
Right. I'm going to kind of go off my script, so to speak, since you said that, because over the years, you and I had worked, because I live out in this part of the county, right on the edge of town, right on the edge of the creek over here by the, and all of a sudden my brain has just stopped. Stony. Yeah, Rosedew, Stony Creek, all that. You and I have had conversations, and been in different meetings where we've talked about these failing sewer systems. You and I both know that we've stood in the Alljoy area when the king tide has risen, and we've seen fecal matter running down Alljoy Road. There is a problem. I know at one point in time, 17, 18, there was some pushback and I'm going to go to you. There's some pushback to you from other folks in the county that this was too big of a dollar problem the county is not going to spend this kind of money. We can't expect Beaufort Jasper to spend this kind of money for little old Bluffton. Are you sensing a different attitude from those players that, maybe this needs to be a bigger conversation because it involves so much more than this just little podunk corner of South Carolina?
Yeah, it absolutely does, Mike. And I'm not trying to slap myself on the back, but I'll take credit for this. The Stony Creek area where you're speaking of, Rosedew Creek, that area is where our documented scientific data show to be what we refer to as consistent hotspots. Beaufort County talked about it, sounded like they agreed. Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer said, oh, it costs too much money. But I'm proud to say that today we have an agreement with Beaufort County, Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer, to put sewer in those areas. The campground, that whole area, it's a $9 million project. I think we got it down to 7.8 million the last meeting, but I expect it to go up with the cost of everything.
Yeah.
What we did, I persuaded the town, my constituents on town council, along with the mayor, that it's important enough for us to save the river and to prevent what man is doing. We can't do anything about the seagulls or the birds flying over. And there were a lot more of them back when I was a kid and we didn't have any water quality issues. So I keep telling them that. We are partnering 3 ways with them, spending Bluffton municipal money to help put in the sewers to protect the river, which is, there's way more river in the county than there is in the town of Bluffton.
Right.
But I take that as progress. It's still going to be, another year, 2 or 3 before it's all completed. But I'm very pleased with that accomplishment, and that has a lot to do with me running for mayor. I'm not dropping that ball, and I'm not going to let anybody else drop it.
Well, let me tell you, I mean, you and I both know that they swing for the back of your necks a lot, and when you get a hit, you got to take that hit. So, I mean, I congratulate you for that, because I know, this isn't about me. Let me ask you real quick, because I know I've only got a certain amount of time for you. How about the connection fees? Are there LCAW grants or something that, that people can do this $9 million or whatever? That doesn't include hooking up to your house, which is a big fee. Is there things people can do for that?
Well, Mike, believe it or not, we were able to get a $5.8 or $6 million grant from the state, thanks to Bill Herbkersman and Weston Newton.
Good.
That's going to be a big part, and that does take care of the hookup for the sewer, but not the water. So, see, a lot of these areas don't have Beaufort Jasper water.
Right.
So now we're stuck with, we've got the funding to do all the hookups to the sewer, but not the water. And the water hookups with the meter and all is about $7,500 per household. So we are working on that. We're gonna get it done one way or the other. If the people if they are income qualified, there are grants out there that we can get for them. Unfortunately, for most of the working people that make just enough money to get by, or make a little more than they have to have, we have to pay the $7,500, which, that's not the only way that happens, as
Absolutely.
you know.
Larry, let me ask you, and again, I applaud you for that in leading that. Let me ask you, what is right about Bluffton?
What's right about Bluffton is, if you could vision it back like I can from a childhood to now, when I was growing up, 16, 17, 18 years old, there were plenty of oysters out there. There were plenty of shrimp out there and crabs. But unfortunately, there wasn't anybody here to buy them, to eat them. So growing up, a guy like me that worked with his hands in the river, you could sell to a wholesaler for 10 cents a pound. You might make $50 a day if you work from sun up to sundown, but it was not an opportunity. Now that there are people here, there's opportunities for our children to have jobs. Like I said, I got a daughter that's got a master's in accounting, another one that's a nurse. Another one that's running her own or our own business, a restaurant. Back then, there wasn't any opportunity. So people coming here in the area growing is not all bad. Would I like to see it the way it was? Every once in a while. But I remember those days and how hard it was to make a living. Or if you wanted a water pump because you had no city water. So if your well went out, you had to drive to Savannah, out on the other side of Savannah somewhere, to find a pump to come back and replace you, so you'd have water to take a shower with. So, I hate the traffic, just like everybody else. When my daughter had a baby that, I think you heard about it, that had to spend 20 something days in the hospital. Thank God he's doing, thank God he is fine. My wife was staying at her house at Heritage at New Riverside. And every morning I was staying here at our house, and I'd go, like 6 o'clock in the morning, and the doggone traffic coming from Jasper County and Savannah way, Pooler or wherever, I couldn't even turn into the neighborhood, unless somebody was generous enough to stop and blink their lights so I could turn. I don't like that part.
Right.
But I also do like that there's opportunity here where my kids aren't in New York, Atlanta, Charlotte, or wherever, to have decent paying jobs. And I get to see them. I get to see my grandchildren without getting on a plane. So that's my opinion on that.
On the other hand, what's wrong about Bluffton?
There's not a whole lot wrong. It's not perfect, but I also remember that I'm not either, and nobody else is. People can complain, whine. I hear it, kind of often, really, but I also hear a lot of great things. And I watched your show when my opponent was on there, and he made a statement that he moved to Bluffton and loved it. Just 2.5 years ago.
Right. If
Bluffton was more bad than it is good, why are all these people wanting to uproot and come here and call this home?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
I don't mean that abrupt, but it is like no place is perfect. You have to love where you live and be a part of it and contribute to it and make it better. That's what I encourage.
I think that's valid advice for on a lot of levels, if you would. Let me ask you, when you think about inspiration, who inspires you, and why do you feel, or why do they inspire you?
I love my family, Mike. My children have taught me more through my life than I've ever learned on my own. Living in the time that we are. I've got my history. I know how it was when I was small. In the 40 years, 50 years since then, my mind opens more and absorbs more just seeing, and I don't like it all now. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't agree with everything.
Yeah.
But I learn. I said, well, I might not like these 2 different color socks. We didn't do that. Wear a pink sock or a blue sock. You had matching socks, or
right.
it was an embarrassment to do that.
Yeah.
Now it's acceptable.
Absolutely. I don't get it.
I don't either, and we never will probably.
Yeah.
But I once, I tell people sometime that I think God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen.
I love that.
Listen twice as much as you talk.
Yeah.
And another thing is, behind everyone's opinion, whether you like something or you don't, whether you like guns or you hate guns, whatever, there's a story behind that. And everyone is entitled to their story, to base their opinion, whether you like it or not. If you listen to their story, sometimes you understand, it's like, now I know why you act like that, or why you believe in this and not that.
Yeah.
Not why you don't believe in everything that I believe in. So,
right.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
Absolutely. We've got just a few more minutes, and our next guest has gotten back in the green room. We'll get to him in just a second. Larry, there's a couple of things I did want to ask you. The next 3 to 5 years for Mayor Toomer, from Mayor Toomer's vision, looking out 3 to 5 years, what do you see the town of Bluffton looking at in 3 to 5 years?
Well, if I have my way, Mike, one of the things that I see that are wrong in our development, and even the people that have the rights to develop, we're way heavy residential compared to commercial. There are, and that contributes to our roads. When you got to drive 5 miles from say New Riverside, or 10 miles from New Riverside all the way into Bluffton to go to the coffee shop, or to your doctor's office, or your dentist office, or your eye doctor, or to a good restaurant. All of these things, the services for people. Right now, 70% of the people are west of Buckwalter. 30% of the service businesses are west of Buckwalter, where the people live. Yeah. And it's just the opposite, east of Buckwalter in the Old Town area. I'm saying this because the developers need to do the developments, the commercial developments, which help support the town. As you know, the town doesn't make money off of residents. The taxes, exactly. A perfect example, just so people listening can kind of hear. We just last year we were saying a house valued at $375,000, which I don't think you could buy a shack for that now. But anyway,
yeah.
but just to give you an idea, the town collects $650 a year from that property valued at $375,000. With that, we provide trash pickup, recycling, and police protection, and still try to run a town. You know, I've got to get my big check too that you get for serving on council. You know that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a big one. Yeah.
But you know, our employees. You know, I mean, it's amazing. You know, the secondary properties that people own, which are based at 6%, and they pay school taxes. People don't realize that the individual homes like yours and mine and all these other homes that you see in these developments and everywhere else, they do not support the school system, with the exception of their vehicles or their boats, you know, or the motorcycle. That's the only school taxes that those individuals actually pay, which to me is crazy. But I mean, I'm in the same boat. I mean, businesses and extra property or second homes is where the money comes from to run our government.
Unfortunately, that Act 388 is still biting us all in the ass every single day. I don't look for it to be changed in my lifetime. Hopefully at some point it will, but it was a good thing when it came about, when they decided to do it. Then everybody in the upstate got smart about it and said, watch this. And we're in the spot we're in now. Last thing, the city of the town of Bluffton does not do, and I shouldn't use that word, does not have voting districts or wards. We hear the cry from a lot of different people or a lot of different social angles about things being fair and equitable. Totally understand, totally get it. But speaking of fair and equitable representation, do you believe that Bluffton has, 54 square miles, 40,000 people, somewhere in there? Are the pants big enough now where there needs to be representation, fair and equitably, across the town? The point being this: obviously, you and I for years have heard the divide between Old Town and everywhere else, which is silly, but it is what it is. But to avoid that, the last thing we would want, I would think, and I want your opinion, is that a monopoly of town council is from either or. I don't think it's healthy, Mike Covert, that all of New Riverside or Buckwalter was on town council, and I don't think it would be healthy if all of Old Town was on town council. Is getting into election changes, blah blah blah. And that's a huge issue. That's a big undertaking. Involves Herb Kurzman and Newton and Davis and blah blah blah. Is that something you support as mayor?
Mike, I was asked this a similar question, which is close. It's not the exact same thing. The other night at Cypress Ridge for a meet and greet. And that was suggesting that we increase the size of council. And my answer, that's come up a few times over the last few years. My feelings on that are that I would not oppose expanding council if that's what the people want. I will say, after serving on numerous boards and commissions and different things, from DNR to DHEC and fishing organizations that I've been a part of off and on all my life, the more people you get around that table, the less you get accomplished, good, bad, or ugly. When you have 9 opinions on something, it's hard to get a consensus to move forward. There's always this bickering and battering back and forth. I would never say that I would oppose it in any way. The ward system, I kind of watch our other areas, Hilton Head included. I see advantages and I see disadvantages.
Mhm.
I see some people that say, I want this for my backyard. You know, let me get mine first, then we'll get yours. You know, it
Mhm.
becomes, there's a lot of good points, but I think we could accomplish the same thing if people from these areas, especially people with complaints and people that aren't happy,
Mhm.
participate, come to council with some ideas. You know, not just a bitch and moan, but a real, hey, this is going on. Why don't we, you know, suggest, come up with some solutions instead
Mhm.
of just more problems, and be a part of our town. You know, love this town. Like I say, I do. Come on in, and, you know, we might not agree, but then a chance there's, you know, if you make sense, there's more than likely a chance that Larry Toomer will agree with you. So that's just
Larry,
my opinion.
you can't go wrong with that. How can folks get in touch with you and your campaign, contribute, volunteer, etc.?
I've got a Facebook page, Larry Toomer for Bluffton. I'm easy to find. My phone number's on the town of Bluffton website, 843-247-5964. Same one for the last 28 years. My house number is the same as it's been for 28 years.
All right. You still
You
have
know,
a house phone?
I still have a house phone. I don't,
Wow. I
and
finally gave in.
I very seldom ever use it, but, you know, I've got old friends and family in other places, and I want to make sure that they still have it.
Absolutely. Larry, thanks again for coming on here, ladies and gentlemen. Candidate for mayor of the town of Bluffton, Larry Toomer, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
having
again,
me,
sir. All right, sir. All right.
Everything that rocks is right here. Right here.
Let's rock.
With Big Patriot Radio.
That's what I'm talking about.
Our next guest is already with us, so we're going to be bringing him in the studio screen here in a second. I'd like for everybody to welcome, coming to us, there he is, from the city of Beaufort, Mike Sutton, candidate for the city of Beaufort mayoral job. How are you, Mike?
I'm well. Thanks, Michael.
Outstanding. Thank you for coming on with us. I appreciate you taking your time out. I want to jump right into it. Candidate for mayor, I know you're busy, so let's jump right in this. First of all, if you would, tell us a little bit about your background, personal life, something you'd like for the listeners to know all about you.
All right. Well, my name is Mike Sutton. I grew up here in Beaufort. Graduated local high school in '77 and disappeared into the military for a long career. Retired, came home, back to Beaufort. Married a local gal here who I'd actually known in high school, kind of rekindled that relationship here. Got involved right away in civic activity. I opened a retail store, the first internet cafe in downtown Beaufort. When I returned, and my wife opened the retail store at the same time. That's how we reconnected. But basically, got involved in the community and started serving on boards and commissions. I think Mr. Toomer did the same thing. I think I heard him speak to. But basically, get involved in the community, understanding how things happened, and that led me into involvement at a lot of levels. And I actually spent some time as a deputy sheriff in Beaufort County and got to ride around the roads and areas and rekindle my knowledge of what was here. I mean, when you're gone for 21 years, you kind of lose contact with your hometown. But I was able to rekindle friendships and kind of get involved at a lot of levels. And then that led me to running for a council seat. I was able to win that election. And when I started down that road, I'm a fiscal conservative, and I firmly believe in term limits. And it was my idea that, look, I'll do 2 terms if you elect me, and I will do my best to support the city of Beaufort. So I did that. And in 2014 was my last time in council, but I didn't disappear. I stayed. I still serve on boards and commissions. I've even done on county boards during that time period off. Redevelopment Commission, Penny Sales Tax Commission. I serve as the vice chair of the Historic Review Board. I'm just totally engrossed in what's what my community's doing and what it's not doing. And I believe quality of life's hugely important. I love where I live, and I'm just real happy to be here and actually have an opportunity to run for mayor.
So first of all, I didn't realize the military background, but I want to, this outlet would, and personally want to say thank you for your service, and thank you for coming back to Beaufort. You served, as you said, on council in Beaufort, and doing that. So the easiest question is why mayor and why now?
Okay, well, having been off council for I think over 9 years now, but staying tuned in, I don't consider myself a politician, but nobody does really when they want to be elected. That's one of the first things. I'm not going to be a politician. I think it's not about the who, it's the what. For me, it's about what I can do best for our community. And so the mayor's job is something I didn't advocate for. I didn't plan to do. I've actually tried to run. This will be my third time running, but each time has had a little bit different reasoning. But this time around, we had a mayor who beat me on the last election. Great mayor. I think he did a fantastic job. It all boiled down to some frustration, I think, and he just said enough, and he quit. Now it kind of startled everybody, and so we have 11 months to fill that seat. And so I thought I would run and then see if I can keep the inertia moving. And I can explain that with other questions because I could go on forever. But the reality is the mayor job is not an easy job. It's more about, to me, it's more about civility on council, having the fellow council members on the same idea of what's best for the community, and trying to create that opportunity where we have a 5-0 vote on every vote that's of important matters, and where we don't get into the weeds of split votes and splitting hairs and fighting. We have to have civility, but I feel firmly that if you're doing the right thing and it's for the best interest of the greater good of the community, then all council members will be on board with that. And if you haven't gotten them there, that's the mayor's job to find out how to, if I firmly believe in it, I want to educate, train, show, pull them to the dance, whatever it takes to say, this is the best interest. Now, civility also means sometimes you take a back seat and say, that's another idea from somebody else. It's not my idea, and that's okay. If it's a greater good of the community, that it's not about being the hero sitting there being the mayor. That's a hard job, and it's thankless, and there's many hours involved in it. I'm just happen to be at a point in my life where I can offer this up, and this will be an opportunity for the voters to hire somebody who has a huge institutional knowledge. And that's what I'm bringing to the table. Is from 2006, our Beaufort is a whole different Beaufort than it was when I started. And I call it a battleship term. Everything we do is a very slow process in politics, and you don't see fruits of your labor till years, even when you're out of government. In things that you started that may have taken root, and you can't, you don't. It's a shared environment. You have to have people working, helping you get there. That's what I'm doing.
One of the pressing issues in the city of Beaufort, and we actually have one of our listeners has a question, and I'll post that here in a second. And this is very similar. One of the pressing issues in the city of Beaufort right now, and for some time, has been the subject of redevelopment. What is, or what are your plans for leadership in the redevelopment arena?
Well, look, there's we have to be at the table, first of all, as in the leadership role as a mayor. Having that background knowledge of how we got here is important. Back in 2006, just to give you a case study, but 2006, when I returned and got involved, we had a blighted downtown. We had in the National Landmark District, we had one of the most blighted areas in the entire Beaufort County, in the middle of our Black community downtown, what we call the Quadrant. And so we had an odd juxtaposition of, we have wealthy people in these really nice antebellum homes, championing the history, but no one's talking about the people that actually live here, and no one's talking about the neighborhoods that live here. And when the county came out and did an assessment with the local council of governments and developed this plan to try to apply for some block grant funding, they identified our core of our city, the very center of our city was the most blighted part of Beaufort County as a whole. So that you got to kind of set the stage. In 2006, you're seeing stuff like this. Again, back to the battleship turn. It's taken a long time to understand that development has to happen in order to put what I call the teeth back into the mouth. Basically, we had a historic city. It's over 300 years old. We championed it. We think it's hugely important. We love living here. But we had block after block of empty houses. We had dead houses with trees growing through them in the middle of our city. We were counted as the most blighted area. So development was important. So I went after it. I mean, I championed any idea I could to put infill development to happen, including working with the codes reviews, trying to figure it out. And that's where the form-based code finally came into play. And we worked through that, and that kind of devised the ideal that an urban center like the city of Beaufort is a town center should have all the services downtown. We shouldn't be blowing up and growing at the fringes. We should be working about growing in the core. And some interesting, so development's important, done properly, and sometimes we miss the nail on that. But infilling a historic district should not be as hard as it has been. We've struggled. We've had debates after debates, but we basically need to infill and build our tax base. And I want to hopefully have an opportunity to talk about how that's important, the tax base and the revenue, and where we are today compared to where we were, because it's working. And the 14,000 citizens of Beaufort need to really understand why their taxes aren't going up as far as the city tax rate, millage rate, why that's happening, how politicians over time, myself included, have been able to keep their taxes at a moderate rate, and they still get great service. But those things don't come free, and it also comes with change. So some of the changes we're seeing are related to development. For example, we have two empty blocks, complete blocks in the middle of the National Landmark District that have 2 county buildings on them right now that are slated to be torn down. That will be redeveloped as affordable housing initiative. It's rare that can even happen, but where's the best place to put it? The best place to put it is where the services are. So we know that redevelopment and higher densities ought to happen in the city cores, where you can walk to the park, you can walk to the school, you can hopefully walk to get groceries without driving. So for those reasons, redevelopment is important. It's got to be done right, and there's a lot more to it, and I can't probably get into it in this time frame. But
yeah, one of our listeners, or viewers rather, has posted this. How do you feel about what's recently happened with the Historic Review Board and Historic Beaufort Foundation? That was obviously well covered in the newspapers. And
well, I like to start off a conversation like that saying that history is hugely important to us. I'm a historic preservation contractor. That's what I do. I work on historic houses. I've done it since I retired from the military. I'm out at Penn Center now, rebuilding the historic properties there. I'm totally into history. I do the research. I do my homework. I love preservation. So I totally get it. But also am serving as a vice chair of the local historic review board, and had done that earlier in my life, served on that board. So preservation is important. What happened with HBF? I'm going to tell you flat out, the train ran off the track with HBF. Historic Beaufort Foundation is a great organization that really could be contributing greater to the larger community around us in the things that they do. They started off as a good organization, but I feel they truly have been misguided, misled. Their seat on the board is important. And if I'm elected mayor, I truly hope that I can kindle some relationships with a foundation like that to bring candidates that are worthy of being servants to the board and to the larger community. But it can't be only about that one organization. It's not about HBF. This is not about the who. This is about the what. It's about preserving our city. It's about preserving the city for all citizens, not just a minority group of citizens. So how I feel about it, I think Mayor Keisling tried to get the ordinance straight over the time he was on mayor. Stephen Murray tried to do it with his. That was his final straw to take the one sentence out of an ordinance. I was the vice chair on the night on the meeting, the very next meeting after that, and it went smoothly and perfectly, even after that language was struck out of the ordinance, where we had the same players participate, do everything they're supposed to do. We had a great meeting. We approved and disapproved projects on our agenda. And I don't see the problem. I don't really see the problem. I wish that group would stand up and actually work with the city and stop the stuff they're doing behind the scenes. You know, the democratic process is hugely important to me. And that organization filed a lawsuit against the city. They have their own reasons for doing so. But they had a person on the board that actually voted in support of the very project they're suing us for. And when they say us, they're suing the citizens who volunteer and serve on committees and boards. Basically, it's just wrong. It's wrong at all levels.
Let me switch gears to another topic. And another viewer sent this in. What are your views of reimagine Beaufort? When I hear the word reimagine, it gets me real.
Well, Michael, you served on county council, right?
Yeah. What are your thoughts about regarding historically registered bridge, et cetera, et cetera? Thank you, Julian. Yes, I did serve on county.
So you want to talk about reimagine Rebo? All right. So look, that's a no starter. That's a non-starter. So many people got upset. You know, this is how it typically unfolds. You have consultants come in, put a plan together. You have a charrette. You have the public participate. Everybody gets to say. Everybody writes down on a scrap of paper what they think something should be, and the consultants put it all together, and they wash it out and they throw it out there. The fact is, the city of Beaufort, even though we're paying attention, we don't own the roads or the sidewalks or the stormwater. That's owned by the state of South Carolina. In this case, I went to the very first charrette that they had, and I asked the second question that could be asked before we participated was, what's the end game? When's the deliverables going to happen? And the answer was, well, there is no end game. We don't have any funding. This is just a dream of what that could be if we could get funding. And so basically it was a county engineer working for a department, I'm sure, that was told to go do this. And they had funding to spend money on this reimagine. And then they wanted to get out and talk to the stakeholders. Well, the stakeholders, everybody lives or even wants to, it didn't matter if you lived there. You could come in the room and write on a piece of paper with a coloring crayon what you thought the problems were. And a lot of good things were found out. And we all know, I mean, we know that the traffic off of St. Helena's Island off that bridge is horrible. We know there's a lot of accidents there. Something has to happen to that intersection. Absolutely. We don't need a redesign of the entire Ribault Road to figure that out. You know, the one laning of in each direction of Ribault Road. I live on Ribault Road. I live right at the hospital. That's a tricky subject, and it's never going to happen now with the traffic counts we have. It can't happen. There's no way you can make it one lane each direction. So to me, if I'm the mayor, the first question I'm asking was, when are you going to invite me to the table to ask me how this is going to happen? You haven't done that yet. You haven't asked the mayor to come in. Okay. When is the county going to come to us and say, do you want to change Ribault Road? Can we work with the state to make those changes? They haven't happened that I know of. What can we do? It's simple. Things that we planned 20 years ago to do if the funding ever came available. We can bury the power lines. We can add some sidewalks. We can increase public safety. We can go to these residents who have these issues where they can't even back out on Ribault Road because traffic's so bad they can't see. We can open the sight lines. We can widen the sidewalk in those locations so that they have a chance to actually get the nose of their car out so they can see what's happening. But that's going to take a change of attitude. It takes lots of money to bury power lines. We learned that on the Boundary Street Highway 21 project. Yep. People don't like that still, but it's much better than it was on the corridor. So Ribault Road can change, but it's got to be smart change, and it's not going to be done by 100 people each having a piece of the pie to see how it's going to happen. It's going to have to be done once again for the greater good of the entire community. And until we shouldn't. Skeet Von Harten, a friend of mine and a longtime county council member, told me one time, he said, maybe we should stop building bridges and roads and people get used to the fact that we are what we are. See, we can't build roads and bridges to get us out of this mess.
Right. So, let me put her question back up at the very end regarding the historically registered bridge situation. Not living there, I'm not exactly sure what she means by that, but I know that the downtown bridge, as I call it, is a touchy subject. What is your opinion there?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, we love our iconic Woods Bridge. Everything about it screams Beaufort. You know, you can take pictures of it with a sunrise behind it or a sunset on behind it, depending on which side you live on, and it's a postcard. It's incredible, right? I mean, as a kid growing up here and hitchhiking across the bridge, stopping and riding the turnstile and all the things we did, and crazy stuff that we got in trouble for, that bridge has a lot of memories for a lot of people. And it's iconic, and we don't want to see it go, but here's some realities. The bridge is old. It needs work. State of South Carolina allowed us to make it historic. It's got some levels of protection, but that doesn't mean it's going to be where it's at for the rest of its life. I mean, the problem is we don't have control of that. We don't own it. It's owned by the state of South Carolina. Now, if they decide that they need a new bridge for public safety because the projected numbers of traffic on Lays Island residents is up to 20,000 people, much larger than the city of Beaufort, and we already have problem on the other bridge, the McTier Bridge, then you can see that something definitely will happen at some point. And what do we do? I don't know the answer to that, but I know it has to be maintained. I'm most likely concerned that DOT will turn around and just give it off to the city of Beaufort. And if that's the case, the budget numbers tell you 14,000 people can't own that bridge. It's going to have to be a community effort.
Let me go off script just a second, like I did with Larry. I know back when I was on council, we talked about this, and there was a lot of people over there that really poo-pooed what I'm getting ready to say. But is it time to have that conversation, Mike, about a third access point onto and off of Ladies Island that could bypass downtown, alleviating some of the pressure?
No, it's that's a sore subject. Again, from 2006, we talked about that, and we're talking about annexation issues across north and south of us. And how do you get people out of here? I mean, I've envisioned in bridges from Hilton Head to St. Helena, and you're like, how would that possibly work, right?
Others have too.
Right, others have too. And you envision, all right, how do we get from Sam's Point Road across behind the air station? All right, that's a bridge. Bellamy Curve from Sam's Point Road to Bellamy Curve, and then the Woods Bridge. All right, so the third crossing will come up. It's probably, again, the backs of the citizens of Beaufort City are not going to build another bridge. This will be a state initiative. We can't even bond that kind of money. It's unfathomable to even consider that. But my personal concern is about quality of life. Is I wish we could turn the clock back and try to tell the county that you can't keep letting people just zone and grow like they're doing. We had a significant, well-deceived plan in the city of Beaufort for 300 years. It was organic. Everybody lived in the one area. The services was right here. We didn't have to go out in the North 40 and build. But when the boom happened and zoning context has changed, we've put 200,000 people in Beaufort County now. I mean, that's the numbers we're reaching. And Beaufort City is the hourglass of the islands north of the Broad. So what happens is all these people coming in have to funnel through our streets. And so the traffic's horrendous. And, people from New York say, well, that's not bad traffic. Oh, I get it, but I don't live in New York. So
we're here it is.
Yeah, we're here. Like, let's don't use that as an example. It's not bad. It is bad. It's horrible. What can we do about it? I think we can enforce speed limits. We can try to limit the number of roads we build, and you're going to have to live with the stagnant driving or move into the city core and walk to your destinations, because I can't make more bridges. I can't make more roads. I don't want to split the city in half with a super highway. I don't want Rewalt Road to become a super highway. There's some charm and character of Beaufort we have to save, and we're going to have to live with the price of it. But what we can do is we can enforce some of the standards we have, and it's going to be painful. But when I was a kid going to high school, you never sped down Rewalt Road. I mean, you knew, because we had a brand new driver's license, and probably the first ticket I ever got was probably on Rewalt Road. And every kid in my high school class, same thing. The policemen were there. It was consistently enforced. And we knew it was 35 miles an hour and you didn't go a minute over it, right? We don't do that anymore because they're too busy. So everybody's complaining about the traffic, and it's horrible. People speeding through traffic lights, the 60 miles an hour down a 35 mile an hour zone. I see it every day. It's just, I think enforcement and the locals are going to have to take the pain that comes with it.
Mike, let me ask you this. You had mentioned just a few minutes ago, you had mentioned the A word, annexation. Mm-hmm. Do you foresee any more annexation by the city of Beaufort onto what I call Ladies Island proper? And if you do, why or why not?
Okay, well, I'll give you. All right, so that's a long story on Ladies Island. Let me start that answer that with. It's about service delivery. Now, years ago, there were no services on Ladies Island, St. Helena. I grew up on Fripp Island. My mom would load us up in the station wagon and drive the 20 miles into town to get groceries at the Piggly Wiggly and turn around and go back to Fripp. Years ago, the county got together and there were some stakeholders locally who got some grants, and they put together a plan, and they put together a center city, and that's where the gas stations and the Winn-Dixie and the Publix came from, the intersection of Ladies Island Drive. That was done with grant money and county planning, not city planning. Okay, that was a county initiative to get services on Ladies Island. That's boomed into what is. The problem was, though, is that the property owners in the commercial corridor couldn't get anything from the county that they could do to get the zoning to do what they wanted to do. So they zoned, or they asked to come into the city. So at the time the city annexation happened, we took them in, and they grew a commercial base along the Ladies Island Drive and through Highway 21 up, out past the elementary school. But that helps the 14,000 city residents now, but it's a sore subject with Ladies Island, because just like Mayor Toomey talked about, too much residential growth, not enough commercial growth. But Ladies Island's a problem, and as far as annexation, the growth bound. I sat on the regional planning commission back in 2007, and then one of the things we fought for was the right to annex up to a zone, and we called it annexation wars, and we drew the lines in the sand back then. And we pulled that in some because it makes sense over time. You kind of realize, well, we'll never grow that way. We pull it in. The problem, though, however, is the county's not playing the same game with us. All right. So the problem is they're supposed to, if they're contingent to the city, if an owner has a piece of property right at the fringe of the city, but they're in the county, and they ask the county to do something, the county says no. Then they go to the city and say, would you allow this? We're thinking about coming in to the city as annexation. They're the county is actually supposed to send them to us first, not say no. They're supposed to say, look, go talk to the city and find out if that type of zoning you want to do is going to be appropriate for the growth of the city. And therefore, we'll figure it out whether to stay in the county or stay in the city. But the county is not supposed to be city building. The county is supposed to be managing rural properties and protecting the culture and heritage of our larger community. The city and the municipalities are supposed to provide the higher level of service, curbside garbage, fire, police protection, ambulances at your front door, anytime you need them, better roads and streets and all this stuff, not the rural parts of our county. And so what's happened, it's backwards. Now the county is bigger than the city. So annexation, yes, I think we'll have some more annexation. I'll tell you why. One of the biggest reasons why is because now the people living on Ladies Island, St. Helena, and probably out in Burton, they want to say in what's happening in the city. How do you get that say? If you live in the county, you can't vote for me. All right. So if you want to have a say in the city government business, the best thing to do is annex into the city so that you can vote and put your person on council or your person on the mayor job to do that. I'm totally sympathetic with the 20,000 people that's going to be coming off Ladies Island, but that's a county-driven issue. The city was very fortunate to get the commercial zoning, and it's the sore subject over there. But had we not done that, the 14,000 people in the city of Beaufort couldn't afford to provide the service that we're providing to 85% of the people who are not paying taxes to the service we're giving them. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're running out of time on your slot, but real quick, 2 quick questions. First one is, what's right about the city of Beaufort?
Wow. The setting is the right thing about the city of Beaufort, the historic context, the fact that we've held it together all these years, that it's a place, right? It's an environment. I live across I see the city through my windows. Unfortunately, I live on family land over by the hospital on the river. And so we have what's right about the city. It's a beautiful setting. The quality of life is incredible here. If you're lucky enough to live in one of our side little downtown communities, you can walk downtown and all. So the charm and character and history is unparalleled. I could have lived anywhere in the world when I retired from the military. I came home. Sure. So that's what's right with it. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it is everybody has to go through here to get to where they're going, and we're paying the price for it. That's what's wrong with it. You know, people don't get it. You know, 85% of our service calls for police and fire are for people who don't live here. We can't even, we don't, it's not that we don't care, but how do you ask somebody to pull out their wallet and give me your ID and say, oh, wait a minute, you live in Bluffton, but you need a fireman or a policeman today, right? We're not going to bill you for that. But at the same time, that level of service is being provided to everybody. It's not something we can change, but I just want people to know that we have to have a tax base that works. So I'll close with this. $17 million worth of property of revenue or tax. No, excuse me, back up. $17 million budget when I left council in 2014. We're at $57 million today at 2024 budget. You know what the county budget is? It's $152 million. We're 1/3 the county budget, servicing 14,000 citizens, and you have 200,000 people in county. All right, so how does that work? It's not all bad. If we hadn't done the commercial growth that we're doing, we couldn't have done that. And we have $27 million worth of capital improvements getting ready to happen that took 20 years to get in works. So that's stormwater projects, that's park projects, that's roadway improvements, things that the city's doing on its own initiatives. And it's not raised the taxes of the real estate for the property owners, but it definitely has an impact while we're watching the school bond and we're watching the county raise millage rates. So we're paying a share of the taxes for everything else too, but we're also managing our stuff, I think, much better than most communities or have been able to do. So we're fortunate. You know, we only had 5 mayors since we became an incorporated town.
That's true. When is your election? December?
It's December 12th.
December 12th. How can folks get in touch with your campaign, donate, volunteer?
Well, I'll give you an email address. It's really easy. It's MikeSuttonBeaufort@gmail.com.
Mike Sutton Beaufort. I will post that on all of our social media pages.
Okay. That's an easy one to get me at.
Beaufort at Gmail.
Yeah, MikeSuttonBeaufort@gmail. It's as simple as it gets. And you know, if I make the mayor's seat, I'll probably have to get another email address because I'm sure that one will blow up. But in the meantime, it's like Mayor Toomer. I get the same phone number I've had for probably 25 years, and I've got hundreds of contacts on there. I'm not sure I'm going to give that out right now, but you can reach me through the MikeSuttonBeaufort@gmail.com.
Okay. Mike, I deeply appreciate you coming on here tonight, taking time, out of your busy day. I hope to have you back on here. We've still got some time in your all's race, but we greatly appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Mike Sutton running for mayor of the city of Beaufort. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
All right.
Everything that rocks is right here. Right here.
Let's rock.
With Patriot Radio.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right. Well, wow. How about that? 2 candidates for mayors of 2 different cities right here in the county. And I forgot to switch over to Brandon. Oh, well, let us know if anything important's going on. We'll say this. Man, I'm getting clogged up. Janet, I saw a whole bunch of your messages came through all at once, but I know they were for when Larry Toomer was on here. I didn't want you to think I forgot about you, but they just like all of a sudden came through, at least on my end. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. All right. Let's see. A few weeks ago, we broke something here on House of Cards. We had Bluffton Town Council candidate Tim Wood on. And broke, meaning we really didn't see the entire story coming until after we started talking about it. It kind of just developed. That story is the redevelopment of the old Pepper's Porch building and the Deer Tongue building on that property. That property, and that's in downtown Bluffton on May River Road. Everybody pretty much knows where that is, the old Pepper's Porch. That property is being redeveloped by Bridget Fraser, town councilwoman, into a restaurant and a Gullah museum, as I understand. She's not the sole person. She has a financial investor in this, as it's I would assume, a huge financial undertaking. The interesting thing about this entire deal is that we discovered Ms. Frazier applied for a $70,000 grant from the ATAX committee, or commission, committee, whatever you call it. The $70,000 grant allegedly was for bathrooms being in the museum. Now, pause that for a second, because anywhere in any municipality, any county of this state, and quite frankly, any state that I'm aware of, to be honest with you, when you have something when you build something, you go for a building permit, you have to have a bathroom. All right, if it's a public building. So to say you're applying for money for bathrooms to go into the museum, personally, I just look at it as being a little bit disingenuous, because they were already there. You had to have had that on there to get financing, unless this is a cash deal. And if the finance person, the investor, is doing it without it being on there, then that's a bad move. Anyway, that was a full stop. Anyway, she was turned down by the commission, but she appealed to the town council, which she sits on, and was approved. Now, allegedly, she recused herself, but I use air quotes, because allegedly she did not leave any of the meetings or the room as is required by law during the conversation and voting. It's one thing to say, I'm not taking part, I abstain. That means one thing. Recusal means something else. And by the letter of the law, in accordance with Jefferson's Laws of Rule and Order or Robert's Rules of Order, the person recusing themselves is to eliminate themselves from conversation and voting. Allegedly, she did not. It's on the record. She did not. Now, she also applied for somewhere around $350,000 in public tax dollars. And anytime we say, or you hear somebody say it's ATAX money, that is your money. That is his money. That is the people who come here and spend money, stay the night, heads in beds. It's tax money. The city doesn't have any money. The county doesn't have any money. It's your money. It's people's money. Okay? Anyway, she applied for about $350,000 in public tax dollars to rebuild the Deer Tongue building. A couple of interesting things with this. Stay with me here. Number one, Frazier was asked by a town commission chairman during her application for this money, Mr. Trimble, if she ever, again, quote, if she ever received any public tax dollars for this project. We don't have the exact quote. I'll be more than happy to pull the tape and do that for you if you'd like. But he asked her a couple of times, allegedly, have you received any tax dollars for this project? To which she has answered publicly, and actually, as a matter of fact, I do have that tape. She answered publicly, no. At least twice that I personally have heard, and would seem of my own eyes. No. Have you received public monies? No. But I would like for Ms. Frazier to explain why she said no at least twice to the question of receiving public tax dollars when she received $70,000 of public tax dollars. She was asked that after she received it. This is documented. This isn't made up. This is documented. The timeline, she applied, she got it. She went for the $350,000. She was asked, have you received it? No. Now, no one has come out and said, well, why? Why did you say? But, excuse me, it's definitely the shoe's been put out there. or the gift for someone to ask, and I guess, well, let's ask. Why? Why did you say no when you obviously took 70 grand gladly from the town council? It's public money. You didn't take the town's money. You took public money. All right. We have reached out, and I've reached out to Ms. Frazier. I've reached out to her campaign. No one answers the phone. No one returns any messages. We've sent social media all over, anything social, I've sent it. Zero. Number two, she applied for public tax monies to rebuild the Deer Tongue building. That's what it's called. Rebuild the Deer Tongue building. Construction documents, other documents such as building permit documents made public all show that the owner, Ms. Frazier, was instructed to get a letter from a structural engineer certifying whether or not the structure, the Deer Tongue building, was safe enough to be moved or if it had to be torn down. Now, we all know, if you have been in Bluffton or rode through here, that it was torn down because the lot is sitting like bone-ass empty right now. So what the interesting thing is this. Let's see if I can pull this up. And I don't know how to do this. Gosh darn it. I want to go up here. I hope you all can see this. This is the letter from the engineer, Cranston Engineering. And it says, based on the observations and review of the project, it's our professional opinion this structure be approved for relocation and reoccupancy with consideration to any structural aspects. Once moved, the structure should require minor structural work to allow for reoccupancy and use as a commercial structure. All right, that's what that says. So she was told, you got to get a letter from a structural engineer that you can move this building. And remember now, she's moving it like 3 to 5 feet, something like that. The Cranston Engineering structural engineer guy did whatever it is they do, produces a document, the said report of the engineers, who said not only is it sound enough to be moved, it should only take minor repairs once moved. And again, 3 to 6 feet, something like that. From the construction documents I've been privy to. Excuse me. Instead of moving the building as was instructed by all parties in this construction deal, Ms. Frazier decides to tear it down. She hires a company out of Savannah called Repurpose Savannah to do the deconstruction. So let's get this straight. An engineer said it's perfectly fine to be relocated, moved and relocated. When you build it back, or not build it back, when you put it back, minor structural things will need to be fixed. As is expected, you moved a building and you're good to go. She's smarter than a structural engineer and tears it down. Now, remember, this is a building who holds historical significance to the town of Bluffton. You heard Larry Toomer earlier. Been here his whole life. I mean, there's no more salt of earth of Bluffton than Larry Toomer. And many others. So this building has some kind of cultural significance to him and other folks who have lived here their entire life. And I believe Ms. Frazier may have as well. I don't know. But she's smarter than a structural engineer, and she has it torn down. She has it torn down by a company called Repurpose Savannah to do this deconstruction. Now, this company says they specialize in this type of work. Ms. Fraser made statements about the company coming in. This is public information. You can hear this all. Go to their website, every YouTube, it's all over the place. She has made public statements that they went to great lengths to label every single board. They're going to put it back. Now, maybe that's true. This company did a little investigation. This company, oddly enough, on the very front page of this company's website, it talks about how they are all about non-binary, LGBTQ. I mean, that in your business? Anyway, whole other subject. Anyway, this company makes its money off selling and that's not the issue here. The issue is the company makes its money off selling reclaimed items like wood floors, beams, doors, windows, fireplace mantles, bricks, antique fixtures, etc. They're a reclamation company. They have a store. You can go online and look at all the shit they have for sale. They have a warehouse. We did some investigation, and they do this work at little to no cost, just covering themselves. They use a shit ton of volunteers. Hey, if that's your gig, more power to you. I applaud it. Way to go. They make their money when they resell this stuff. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying, is that what's going to happen? Well, come on, Mike. Just go over to Pepper's Porch area, the Deer Tongue, and just look at all the material. The boards are labeled, said Ms. Fraser. Check them out. Sure, I'd find they're probably in a barn there, or a cupboard, or a container. We did that. We went by there. Guess what's there? Nothing. Dirt and a fence. And there was a bulldozer. There's no boards. There's no container. There's no storage. There's no labels. There's nothing. Again, maybe they're coming back. I'm not saying that I'm just saying. Take a look at what's going on. You draw your own conclusion. You contact the councilwoman and ask her, where's the building materials? But wait a minute. The next question, if there was a building permit issued, and there was, why is the applicant or owner now asking for more public funds, the $350 or whatever $1,000, to rebuild the Deer Tongue building? I don't get it. You have building permits. You got to tear it down, even though you were told by an engineer that it's sound enough to be moved. You decide to tear it down, but you've got building plans that obviously show the end result, the museum and restaurant. But now, after all this is now you come to the town and you want $350,000, whatever it is, to rebuild it of public tax dollars. You're not asking for a loan. You're not asking for Fugazi money. You're asking for public tax money. Wait a minute. You already have, this is already in the plan. But now you want money to pay for it? But you would have had to have all this ironed out. I mean, come on, people. How many of you have built homes? How many of you have, gone through the process of building a house? They don't put the first stake in the ground until financing is confirmed. Whether that's money in the bank, on a note, or letter of intent, or a mortgage of some sort. Nothing happens without the guarantee of getting paid the full amount. But now you're going to come back around and let's see if we can get some tax dollars, because we just got 70 grand to put bathrooms in a museum that if it had a building permit, we assume you have a building permit, then it had to have bathrooms on it. But now you want public money to pay for that. If you're going to be honest and forthwith, Ms. Frazier, why didn't you move the building and avoid this waste of spending? The engineer went through his process or her process, whatever, and stipulated that it was fine to be moved. It's not a contributing structure, and there's a lot of people who argue with that, and I get it because it is a historical piece of Bluffton. Why did you go through all this? Did you know about this ahead of time? People want to know. People have a right to know. Was this the plan or did this just happen? Because this shit doesn't just happen everywhere. It seems that it's happening here. But she publicly told the HPC, that's the Historic Preservation Commission Chair, Bruce Trimble, that no public monies have been used. My question is, were you being honest with Mr. Trimble? Before you answer, we know it's documented. We know you got the 70 grand before you went and asked for 350 grand. The 70 grand was turned down by the ATAX committee, but town council gave it to you anyway. That's neither here nor there. That's a whole nother ball of wax. But were you honest with Mr. Trimble? Come on. Tell me. He asked you that after you were awarded the $70,000. Have you been honest with the public, the town council, your colleagues? Anyway, recently, the funny thing, the next funny thing, in the Bluffton Today, current mayor Lisa Sulka penned an article talking about ATAX monies in the town and how they're being spent. And her article, I know I have it, yes. Her article started off by saying there's been a bit of wrong information put out on social media lately, and I wanted to set the record straight and make sure all of our applicants understand how ATAX funding, blah, 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 blah. I have a feeling I know where that came from, but I'll tell you about that here in a second. But here's the deal. What's interesting about that, well, hold on. First of all, for those people who have no idea what we're talking about when we say ATAX money, let's take a time out. What is ATAX? That is accommodations taxes from funds for overnight stays in each locality, counties, municipalities. 2% is collected, that's on the tab. 2% is collected and remitted to the state, and 3% is collected and remitted to each municipality or county, wherever it's located. So basically, the first $25,000 and 5% balance collected is allocated to each general fund. 30% of the balance must be allocated to one or more of the DMO, direct marketing organizations. The remaining balance, which is math majors, 65%, must be used for tourism-related expenditures. It is a highly scrutinized, or at least should be, line item. There is a commission set up to go over applicants in every municipality and every county. Strict criteria must be met, and this allegedly should remain as non-profit centers, not restaurants. Now, back to ATAXes. Ms. Frazier received, according to Mayor Sulka's article, and here, don't take it from me. I'll pull it up. I'll let you see it. I apologize for my voice. This is the article in the state, or the Bluffton Today. So, according to Mayor Sulka, Ms. Frazier received, let's see here, let's go down to it, right here. Nope, where is it? Here we go. The Bluffton Gullah Cultural Heritage Center, parentheses, renovation of Deer Tongue Building, close parentheses, $175,000. We just talked about this. She received $175,000 to renovate the Deer Tongue Building. Are you what? And then, of course, she got the 70 grand for the bathrooms. That won't be on this page because that came from town council. Now, that's $250,000 of your and mine and any visitors' hard-earned tax money going to a private entity. The private entity, her investor and her and whoever else is part of that, they're not doing this because they have nothing else to do. They want to, let's just do something. No, this is a business, okay? Yeah, there's a museum, but there's a restaurant. This is a business. If it doesn't make money, it'll get closed down. 250 grand of your and mine hard-earned tax money going to this private entity that was told it didn't even need to be torn down, for gosh sakes. Where is the outrage in this? Where is it? I mean, you know what? I'll tell you what. It's been hidden. They don't want to know you. They don't want you to know about this. That's why. Then, now we find out. Let's go back to that page. Let me open it back up here. Go over to it. Let me scroll here. Then we see that Ms. Frazier applied for tax monies and was awarded $21,836 for something called Blackwoody SC, the Roots and River Festival. Public monies for a group that is allegedly and possibly violating civil rights by only promoting Black-owned businesses. And the town is spending public tax monies on that? Are you serious? I'm not saying that the group Blackwoody and the it's a BEU, Black Equity University, something like that. I'm not saying that doesn't have merits, but for the town, a political entity, to spend public tax money on something that is only a narrow avenue for one race. I've had people tell me that is a huge red flag. That is a civil rights nightmare that they've entered themselves into. Where's the Latin equity? Where's the white equity? Where's the Asian equity? I didn't think towns and counties were supposed to do that. There are protections in civil rights law. We have someone commenting, Kate Creech, just to clarify, tax money is a reimbursement. You just don't get it. No, you don't just get it. So you spend under, blah, blah, blah. That's right. Oh, she's right. Absolutely correct. But let's get back on topic on this. We allegedly have a private business venture going on who has applied for and received public tax dollars for said private business. While not being honest with said municipality when asked about ever receiving funds, and the sacred building, the Deer Tongue building, was supposed to be moved, but the owner's smarter than an engineer and wants it torn down, and now the precious and very valuable wood is all missing. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure I'm wrong. I smell a rat. I smell something. The cheese is rotten. I know public money going to private business, and I don't want to hear if someone says, oh, it's for the museum, then the definition, there has to be, look, people, you have to account for every single dollar specifically. You can't commingle dollars. You have to be specific. This is not 1970 when it's, oh, you know what I was doing. I was over there. No, that's not how this works. I certainly wouldn't let do that. Neither should anybody else. And I don't care who you are. But I do know an awful lot of tax dollars, public tax dollars, is going in one direction. And that looks a little strange. And we need some answers. We've asked, nobody's given them. That brings up even more questions. We want those answers. We're going to keep digging for those answers, and I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm sure I am. But we're going to keep asking. That is something you can rest your head on.
Introducing to you. You're on House of Cards. Live on Facebook and YouTube. It's going down. Locked and loaded with the truth.
It is 8:52, and I'm going to wrap things up because I can barely. Let me see what I want to do here. 43 Olma Road. I told some folks I'd be talking about this. If any of you have been paying attention to the county council meetings as of late, you will know that some on council, namely Finance Chairman Mark Lawson, right here in Bluffton, has been pushing very, very, very hard for the county to buy this property and to avoid development. 43 Olma Road is like almost directly across the road from the Olma Recreation Facility down in Bluffton, in this southern part of Bluffton. Anyway, he's been pushing very hard for the county to buy this acreage. It's like, I don't know, 40 acres, 50 acres, whatever it is. It sits next door to a 50-acre parcel that Councilman Tabor Vox and myself as councilman worked on and got rural critical lands to purchase to save from development, which was a huge, that was a home run, and I'm happy to have my name on it. This property site across the street from the Olma Recreation Facility, next door to that one, how do I say this? It's a shithole. It's a shithole. It has one high ground area, and that's where a cell tower sits. Now, why does people like Lawson or anybody else that's in favor of this, why do they want to have it purchased? They want to have it purchased, in their words, to avoid development. Honorable thing. This is a shithole. It's got one high ground area, and that's where a cell tower sits. Everything else, mainly, is swamp and a big pond. Now, I mean, it's a mosquito brothel. If there was ever hookers for skeeters, that's where it is. If someone wanted to build houses back there and develop it, they wouldn't be worth a damn with all the bugs and mosquitoes. I wouldn't put a tent out there. I mean, not to mention a big ass cell tower over top of your head. But for some reason, out of the mouth of Mark Lawson, and who am I? I don't know. He says, hey, you can put 39 houses out there, prime development land in southern Bluffton. No. Anyway, Lawson's been trying to get the county to buy rural and critical lands when asked about it, said, hell no, it's not critical to us at all. And that's one of the most honest things they could have ever said, because it's not critical. You can't develop on a swamp. You can't develop in a pond. Who in the right mind is going to develop around a cell tower? You're not. But Lawson is pushing, man. He's pushing hard. The offer he wants the county to take, it was like $3 million some odd dollars. But he said, hey, if you do it in the next few weeks, like a car salesman, the owner of the property is going to give you a break, and we'll be able to do it for, 2-point-something million, saving you about $1 million. Wow, what a conservator you are. What he didn't say then, and he's not saying now, and I've been looking for it, but I swear someone asked about the owner of the property, and he acted like he had no idea. What he didn't tell you, and what's not coming up, is the fact that the property was sold in June, that's right, or so, by the original landowner, which is Plico Farms. That's who we bought the other property from. Plico Farms sold this land to a developer out of Charleston for $1.3 million in change. Less than 30 days later, they're in front there, through Mark Lawson, in front of the county, trying to get them to double their money and use your tax money to buy it. But that's not even the best part. That's not even where this goes mind-blowing. Some, maybe not all, county council knew this was going on because the county decided, get this. The county, and at that time, Greenway was still there. He had to have known, and if he didn't, then he wasn't even doing his job. The county decided on their own to send someone out to the property prior to Plico Farms selling it to get an appraisal. That's right. The county, Beaufort County, and the county administrator and the county attorney's office sent an appraiser onto private property without their knowledge to do an appraisal. They had no right to be there. How do we know this? Because the county knew the appraisal value before Plico Farms sold it to the group in Charleston. It's documented. We've seen it. But why would they do that? Why would Greenway and the county attorney's office do this? Or for that matter, why would they even care? Why would a county council member to agree spending your tax dollars on, like I said, bullshit property and costing twice the amount it just sold for? Why? You can't make this shit up, people. You just can't make this shit up. It's insanity.
All the wickedness and filth this world has to offer.
Rock music that shatters your bones.
That's some serious rock.
And you're
Coming up on 9
responsible.
o'clock. Thank you very much. And Mr. COVID is just kicking this guy's tail right now. Public service announcements first. This is exciting. The South Carolina Department of Education is proposing to draft a new policy regulation that addresses school and classroom library materials. This policy would take the latter out of the hands of the local school divisions and place them at the state level. If you would like to comment on this possible practice, you can send a letter in email format. Let me see here. Here we go. To Lisa Widener. Her name is on the screen and her email is on the screen. She is the Assistant Director of Governmental Affairs, the South Carolina Department of Education, sclreg at ed.sc.gov. Now, I put that up there because we do ask you to do this. Just, it doesn't have to be long. Just send them your opinion of what I'm about to tell you. Normally, I'm a huge proponent of home rule and less intrusion by government. In Beaufort County, however, with this particular subject, the majority of our school board, 8, needs not to really be anywhere near policy-making decisions. And I've determined that over the last year. If you have comment on whether or not the state should intercede and set forth policy, regulations about what subjects, like blowjobs, anal sex, oral sex, child rape, bondage, and more, should be allowed in reading materials in school systems, then by all means, send her an email tonight or by the end of business tomorrow and let her know your concerns. That's right. The Department of Education is considering strongly taking the ability of local school boards and districts' ability to decide what books go in their schools out of their control and back into the state. Because we see running rampant, not only in Beaufort, but everywhere else, things like child rape, child bondage, blowjobs, anal sex, oral sex, how to blow up schools, how to give a blowjob, how to do other things. According to them, it's okay to have that inside school buildings. We've seen it over the last year. They continue to do that. Obviously, the Department of Education is saying maybe we need to take a stronger stance with this. I ask you to send this gal a letter, email, and let her know. It's a great way. Please do it now. Also, are you interested in how South Carolina continues to hire its judges? If you are, the last week is upon us right now to file a complaint against any judges in the South Carolina system. This, the judge is elected, and we use that term loosely in a lot of cases because they're not really elected, they're selected. And that's just how it works. Anyway, a judge that is elected this November will not be before the JMSC for another 7 years. So this is the chance you have, and it's an excellent one, to be quite honest, to make whatever claims you have to make. Now's the time to do it, or you got 7 years to wait. In Beaufort County, Judge Dukes and Judge Bonds are the only two going in front of the JMSC this go around, and that I'm aware of, and that's next month when they're going around. So now is now's the time. Now's the time. Write a letter. You do have to have it notarized. A little pain in the ass, but just do it. Send it in by the 23rd of October. It must be addressed as follows. Excuse me, you see it on your screen. JMSC, attention Aaron Crawford, Esquire, 104 Grissett Building, P.O. Box 142, yada, yada, yada. Do that because, and I'll leave that there just for a second. It's very important. It is very, very important. We're on a quick update here. Yeah. So next week, we are still trying to get Dan Wood, Bridget Fraser, candidates in Bluffton, trying to get them to come on. Kevin Phillips and Joe DeVito, candidates for mayor in Port Royal, trying to get them to come on. Phil Cromer, another mayoral candidate in the city of Beaufort, want to get him on here. We know they all, or most of them, were watching tonight. We know that. So, hey, we treat everyone with equally the same time frame. We've had both candidates for town of Bluffton Mayor on, given them both the same amount of time to pretty much speak their mind, and it's been very, very chill. We've had, obviously, you saw Mike Sutton, mayor candidate in the town of Beaufort, and Tim Wood. We had Tim Wood on, town council candidate here in Bluffton. Everybody can come on. You can say what you want. There's no hidden agenda. Give you ample time to share your message with the voters. with all of that in mind, we're going to have a candidate debate. Decided to do this Thursday, November 2nd on this show. Thursday, November 2nd. I'm inviting all four. Well, they don't even know about this yet. All four of the Bluffton Town Council candidates. I'm going to invite right here on this stage. We'll have all four of you up here, the screen, to make your last ditch effort, your last pitch for office. And if other races are interested in doing this, say we could do that too. It doesn't have to be Thursday. I'll do a special one for you. If that means that much to the folks in that area, boom, I'm in. But the town of Bluffton, because there's so much going on, we got 4 candidates for council. Love to have a debate here. We're going to do it on the 2nd. So hopefully all of you, I know 2 of you are watching it right now. Hopefully more are. We're going to host the event, but I'm hoping to have a third-party facilitator. Okay, that way, again, I don't want anybody to think, he's playing favorite. No. I'll take myself out of it. I'll just host it, have a third-party facilitator. I want everyone to have the same advantage as everyone else. We'll see how it comes out. Then, November 7th, rather, election night. We're going to have the 2nd annual Big Patriot Radio election night coverage right here on the Big Patriot Radio Network and House of Cards, like we did last year. Myself, and I'm hoping, I don't think he knows it yet. Corey Allen, we did it last year. We'll get him back here and do it again. It was breaking news from up and down the coast of South Carolina on all the hot races. We're going to do that again, so stay tuned for that. All right. That is it for me tonight. I got to go put some medicine in his throat, get rid of this COVID. Next week, we'll give it a couple hours. Breaking news going to surely happen. It'll always happen. We know it does. It always does. Until then, I'm Mike Covert. Please stay safe out there, and good night, everybody.
call me bad company. I can't deny. Bad company till the day I die. Until the day I die.
Authority. Patriot Radio.
I wouldn't tell anybody about this.